Welcome to the Dissident Mama podcast. Today, my guest is Christy McKenzie. McKenzie is co-conspirator, business manager, and publisher of Flip City magazine. In early 2020, together with her husband Scott, they began printing and distributing their expression of dissent against controlled media narratives, censorship, and woke cancel culture as a physical comic satire magazine. McKenzie recognizes the importance of providing a release valve for the pressure built up by all the horrors faced on the common man, and is happy to provide some laughs for the awaked, not woke, masses. Flip City is relentless in the pursuit of making America laugh again and is currently publishing the 19th edition. Welcome, Christy.
Hey there, Mama. How's it going?
It's going. Always pushing things to the wire. That's kind of how I roll. So I'm so glad you were able to take time for me. I have been sent some Flip City magazines over the past year and a half or so that we've been in correspondence with one another. Here's another one too.
Right, yeah, I've got some of those too.
Yes, and one thing I want to talk about, they've gotten thicker and glossier and a little fancier over the years, but we'll get to that. So I have a lot of questions for you. Let's dive in. Why 2020? Was it kind of like me? You thought you had a lot of time on your hands and you just start something new because, oh, I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs with all the lockdowns? Or was it something else, just straw breaking the camel's back kind of moment? What was it that made you do this in 2020?
Right. I think I would lean more towards the straw that broke the camel's back. In fact, before 2020, we had been planning to do something. We were wanting to maybe grow a YouTube channel doing kind of dissident animations and things like that. But animation is tremendously time consuming. Not that the magazine's not, but especially after publishing for, let's see, we're ending our 4th year now. So basically, my husband is trained in animation and illustration, and we were always thinking, well, we wanted to use his skills to push back on mainstream narratives, corrupt government, all that kind of stuff. We just didn't know exactly what. First thought was doing animations. We kind of dumped that because he has stacks and stacks of ideas of things to do. And so we decided to take some of those properties and basically storyboard them and publish them in a magazine with future plans as the magazine grows and our notoriety grows to produce some of them into animations. And we've already started that process on our YouTube channel. So straw that broke the camel's back. It was planned to start in 2020. In late 2019 was when we started planning the magazine.
Okay. And what's Flip City? What does that mean? What's that in reference to?
It's actually, and we took a little time thinking about what we were going to do with the magazine title. We had the concept, but didn't know what we were going to call it. If you look back at the heyday of satire magazines like Mad and Cracked, all those things basically mean crazy. Mm-hmm. So we kind of wanted to stay within that theme of crazy. And Flip City is actually a term for crazy. And Cheech Marin says it in a Joni Mitchell song. I forget the song title, but he says, yeah, man, that chick's crazy. She's Flip City, and goes on this rant at the end of a Joni Mitchell song. And so we really liked the term Flip City. And it seems to work in multiple ways that we weren't thinking. I mean, it's a magazine, we flip through it. We're also flipping the script on our would-be controllers. So it's just kind of worked its way to be the perfect name for what we're doing.
So there's a Joni Mitchell song with Cheech at the end of it. I've never heard this.
Yes, I will have to. I'll check with Scott and see what the song is. He knows what it is. I always forget the title though, and I will send you a link. Yeah.
I thought I knew a decent amount about Joni Mitchell, not that much about Cheech and Chong, but I guess not. So yes, lifelong learning. Flip City is also bringing us that to the fore. So you're just thinking, hey, the world really needs a dissident comic satire magazine, easy peasy. And we're going to do it in print because wow, that's so inexpensive. And,
Right.
paper costs are so down. And, in our world of instant gratification, you're going to make people wait for their copies 4 times a year. Okay. Why print?
Okay. That was another determining factor. Okay. So just so everybody knows, we pretty much bootstrapped this. We did not have an awesome business plan. We were like, okay, let's do this. Let's be creative. And over the last 4 years, I've become a much, much better business person. I will tell you that is how we've been able to continue publishing for 4
Right.
years. But at the beginning, we're like, let's just throw it out there, see what happens. And we were actually thinking of just doing a digital publication, but we got really, really lucky right at the beginning, and we grabbed a social media influencer who was not that big at the time. And he was super excited to have a sponsor. We were his first sponsor. And we grabbed him right before he started to rocket up on YouTube and start getting tons of followers and tons of views. And he had a very loyal audience. So he was really excited, told his audience overwhelmingly responded. And we had 2 things up for sale on the website, a digital edition and a print edition, because we did a very short print run to sell some and also to test the market. And his audience bought probably about 97% of the purchases were print.
Wow.
And yeah, and we charge more for the print as well, because of course it's a physical thing and it's more of an investment to get it printed. So we said, okay, we're going to go ahead and make this a print magazine. And we're not sorry for the decision. It is a lot more expensive, but I believe that our audience really appreciates the print, and also our content is very that
Hey,
doesn't have that
Christy.
tangible guttural reaction.
Hey,
Yeah.
Christy, you froze for a second and you had just said our content is very. Can you pick
In
up
your
there?
face.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
In your face.
In your face. Okay.
Yeah. And okay, so our content's very in your face, but if it's you see so much of that online with screaming digital ones and zeros. Everything online is kind of in your face.
Mm-hmm.
But when it is in the print medium, it's a lot more shocking. And that is kind of our point as well, is to shock people awake.
Right.
So it's never felt like a mistake to go print, except for sometimes when the print bills come in.
Right.
That's the only time it feels like, oh, it would be nice to just be able to digitally, but we wouldn't have been able to attract all the talented artists that we've had if we were doing it digitally, because they'd say, I could do my own digital stuff, but because we are publishing in print and blasting it out to tangible reality, it's really piqued the interest of pretty much everybody, artists included. And so it's not a mistake. It's just very expensive.
Yeah. Well, it's a niche, because print is, people think it's dying, but obviously, there are some magazines that, I used to work in the newspaper industry, and there's something about holding a newspaper back in the day and getting your fingers dirty, or a book where you can dog ear it, like I'm not an ebook person. I do a ton of stuff online, but I'm a fan of like a real book. And y'all say Flip City even keeps you grounded when touching the tangible reality that is the paper that it's printed on. I think that's beautiful. Like that's kind of like the spiritual thing too, like touching something real that you can hold in your hands. But that must make the content hard, because you want it to kind of be evergreen, cutting edge and current, but evergreen. How do y'all balance that?
Okay, that is the absolute brilliance of my husband. That is constantly on his mind when he is deciding what to publish. In fact, and I hope I can grab this real quick.
Uh-huh.
Give me one sec.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep talking while I look for what I'm looking for. Uh, because I just wanted to show the cover of our very first magazine. Here it is. Okay, so this was the cover that he created in January 2020,
Wow.
before COVID was a thing. And when he showed it to me, he said, "This is going to be our premiere edition cover." And I kind of poo-pooed it. I said, "Hey, man, this thing's going to be in and out of the news cycle, no problem. Like really quick." But he just knew it was the thing that they were going to be throwing at us for a long time to basically do what they did to us. And I just think it's a statement on just kind of the intuitive nature of my husband when choosing content that is going to last the longest. Because you're absolutely right. Knowing that it's going to be coming out up to 2 months or 3 months even later than when we were creating the content, it has to be evergreen. It has to be something that's going to hit. And just flipping through 4 years of magazines, some of it while I'm reviewing it, I'm like, oh wow, I forgot that happened. But at the same time, we're documenting history in a really fun way. So even if it is in and out, it's a reminder of what has happened.
Yes. And your husband and my husband sound like they're very similar. My husband in January 2020 was the first person I knew who mentioned what it was called, like the cover says coronavirus back then. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like nobody had heard about it. So they'll have to they'll have to meet sometimes and compare their big brains. So you and Scott's background, you had told me, Scott, animation and illustration. You're learning some business skills, just you got to, so it's kind of like a necessity. But I mean, y'all are funny and the graphics are so good and the magazine is so well laid out. I mean, I used to work at some magazines too, and it's beautiful. How is this all coming together? Give us a little peek behind the scenes.
Sure. So most of the credit goes to my husband. Through the years, we've picked up people that have helped us pretty much for free because they support the mission of what we're doing. So on the design end, my husband learned InDesign, which is pretty much the program that is used to lay out a magazine. And he was trained as an illustrator. He went to a top art school in California, and I'm sure he probably took a class that he had to deal with InDesign, so he already had that training behind him, and he just gets faster at it throughout the years. So the layout of the magazine, and in fact, it's just improved more and more because we've had other designers contact us and say, "Hey, the leading on the font is this is all technical and boring, sorry, but cool. Your guys' text is too smashed together. You need to like work with your leading. Also, this font sucks. You should use this font." So we've had people advise us, and we're not big egotistical, "Hey, you should like what we do." We take people's advice to improve the content, and it is just getting more readable, and we respect these old timers that have worked in the industry in one way or another, contacting us and saying, "Hey, listen, you can do better." And so that's what we do. In fact, I think on issue 2 or 3, our sub headline is "We'll do better next time." And we kind of hold to that. We always try to do better next time.
Well, humility is in short supply these days, so I'm sure people appreciate that too.
Right.
Do y'all have day jobs, or is this your main gig?
So I held a day job for the first 3 years. I quit my day job about a year ago. And that goes back and forth on whether that was a good decision or not. I have definitely been able to focus more on the magazine and do things to promote it, because that's a lot of my job is promoting the magazine. It's like, it feels like our baby. You know, we don't have babies anymore in the house, so we decided to create another one. And so I'm nurturing it. My husband creates it and I nurture it, and I go running around the internet screaming about it. Hey, pay attention to us.
Yeah, and it's that promo stuff that nobody sees except the person you're communicating with, and that is so time consuming. Remembering who you've talked to, who to follow up with. This gal in North Carolina named Dissident Mama. Hey, we've been sending her magazines and she's been ghosting us. Like, where is she? You know, like, you must be an immaculate note keeper. Have some kind of system going.
I absolutely do, and that is all thanks to my business consultant. Do you know who Salty Cracker is, by the way?
Yeah.
So he found us through Salty Cracker. One of the Salty shouted us out, like, well, I think within our first year of publishing. And I had one of the Salty Army contact me saying, hey, I have built up and sold two different publishing companies. I love what you're doing. Can I consult you? And so I have built a friendship with this man. I'm going to give him a shout out. I don't know if he'd want me to use his real name. So Machine Man, Thank you so much. You know, I love you. And we're really, really good friends now. And sometimes we'll call and talk and it's not even business. I mean, because we just need to get things off our chest. So he has really helped me in my organization and has done things like, hey, who are you sending free magazines to? How long have you been sending them? Okay, they need a letter saying, do you still want this? And if they don't contact you, take them off the list.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's true. They don't get unlimited free magazines.
Yeah. We can't be suckers here. So was he the you were referencing in the beginning of the interview of somebody who had like an online presence that was kind of helped y'all out?
Yes. Well, he doesn't really have an online presence, but he has found us because of the internet. Okay. So even though I have great social media anxiety and want to hate the internet, it really does connect us all. You know, it's
true.
You know, we would not know each other. We wouldn't be talking right now, you know, and I've met so many amazing people through the internet that have really helped us in our mission.
That reminds me, have you met Salty Cracker in real life, or are y'all just friends on the phone?
Neither. I have never actually spoken directly to Salty Cracker. Mrs. Salty, his wife, basically runs their end of the business. She is fantastic. I've never verbally spoken to any of them, but anytime I email her, she's right back on it, and we have nice conversations. Like we both owned black cats and stuff like that, you know. So she does a great job for him.
Yes, social media, the internet, it's a double-edged sword, but you know, I love podcasting because I just get to talk to interesting people that, you know, outside of having a podcast, I would never talk to these people. So it's a good thing, you know, but you have to have a balanced approach to it.
Yeah, just regarding being able to connect through the internet and things like that, that was part of an interview we had with James Corbett. That was something that he brought up. And I'm like, you know, you're absolutely right. And I've kind of changed my own feelings about the internet because he's the same way. He's like, it's kind of a control type thing. But at the same time, we would have never met and this interview wouldn't be happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, there's another thing that I've noticed, especially like with some of your videos, because y'all have a YouTube channel and I guess it's on Odyssey. Is it on Gab TV as well?
No, we don't post to Gab TV.
Okay. But y'all have videos too. And like your interview with James Corbett, it's in the print edition, which is in this one.
Correct.
But it's also online, and I like that. But y'all have, you know, you do the animation on video, but I mean, it's just, I'm assuming you're doing the voices for like a lot of the women and you just have the woke language down pat. So I'm wondering, is that because you're like a recovering lefty or just because we live in clown world and it's inescapable.
Yeah, it's more that it is inescapable, though I cannot deny that at one point I was a lefty. Like, I think a good amount of people have just been pushed to the right. But also, I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart. And if you're not a conservative when you're older, you have no brain.
Yeah.
That's kind of the path more
Yeah.
that I took. You know,
Okay.
I think I started heading right after I kind of got red pilled with 9/11, you know.
That's my
We
story too. Yeah.
really,
Mhm.
who told you? Or what did you do? Who
Well, I
said, check
was,
this out?
yeah, it shook me out of my stupor because the 90s were just so fun and free, and I was in college and traveling around, and it was like kind of the last hurrah before things started getting serious.
It is true.
And it just, whoa, there are people who hate us, what's going on? And I'd considered myself, like political and stuff. I was a journalism major. I had majored in that. I'd minored in women's studies back when it was called that. And so, I always thought I knew stuff, but it's like I was clueless outside of my bubble. And so it just started kind of waking me up. And then I'd gotten married in 2000. And, at first it's like we're 50-50 and we're just having fun. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm living selflessly for this other person. Long story short, came to Christianity, and now I went through like a neocon phase before Christianity, then a hardcore libertarian phase. Now I am just right-winger trad lady, just normal. What was normal like what 35 years ago, whatever.
Right.
But it was 9/11, and I tell that to the youngsters and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, my process was like decades, and people change so fast now, which is good on one hand, but it's also really scary on the other because they can change in the opposite direction. Beautiful college girl, and then she comes home shaved and blue haired or whatever, and
that is
whatever.
True. That is true.
But anyway, go back to your story. That wasn't about me, but yeah, so 9/11, and then that kind of shook you.
Oh yeah, that shook me a bit. I met my husband very shortly after 9/11, and I bring this up all the time because I think it's pretty funny. I just felt 9/11 was a very weird thing, and I met him, and I think maybe on our third date I said, 9/11 just doesn't, I don't think they're telling us the truth. And he's like, oh, and he's like, you need to listen to Alex Jones. And so I went through an Alex Jones period, and I'm like, resist and refuse, and ever since then, you just go down different rabbit holes of, how we're controlled, really. And I am somebody that in my entire life, I've always been the one that doesn't quite fit in any one exact space. So I would say I'm still even kind of politically homeless.
Yeah.
Because politics shouldn't define who I am. So I don't know. I might still have somewhat liberal views on some things, maybe, but no, I think I'm pretty hard conservative at this point. But I don't want the government meddling in people's lives.
Right.
That's the path to the most freedom,
right,
in my opinion. So
I would assume you're a Gen Xer like me.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that's, our generation has definitely some negatives, but I think that we're still willing to learn. And that's one of the things I see about the younger generations. They have their minds made up, and not just like, oh, they think they're smart. All young people think they're brilliant and wise. But, people could plant seeds in my brain along the way and still can plant seeds. I just call it lifelong learning, where I just feel like this lack of wanting to know and being curious is lacking in some of the younger generation. Would you say your readership is Gen Xers? Do you have demos on it, or is it across the board?
I don't have any like official demos, but just based on the people that I do interact with, mostly via email, which also leans pretty Gen X, because and hate for social media and stuff. I'm thinking that probably about 75% of our readers are Gen X, with another 20 being older than that, and a very small portion being younger kids. However, I hear reports back like one of our readers was getting our magazine stolen from his mailbox by the neighbor kid because he loved it. So I know we can appeal to them. It's just
that's kind of a sweet story.
Them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm like, tell him to go get a job and subscribe. Get a job, you hippie.
Get a job and get off my lawn.
Right. So stuff like that, and also a couple of other early 20s people contacting me. So I think we got a handful of them, but that is a demographic we would like to break into, but it's an even harder sell because it's physical media, and they're, they are the tablet, iPad, phone kids. So just got to figure out how to tickle them.
That's right. Well, y'all are 100% independent, which is phenomenal. And you have written in some of the promo stuff to me that y'all are unable to be censored, deleted, or memory hold. And so y'all see yourselves as a free speech platform for artists and writers. So what has been the reaction from friends and family, from, I don't know, the powers that be? Have you had any pushback? And then for those of you who don't know, y'all are based in Southern California, right? Like, are y'all just the oddballs out, and y'all are fine with it? Or, I mean, has there been any serious pushback, death threats? I mean, what?
Right. Okay. So we keep to ourselves. Okay. But I have to tell the world, California is not liberal. We are conservative. But the cities control us, but as far as the whole state goes, especially where we are, even though we're in Southern California, we are up in the mountains of Southern California, and it's pretty darn conservative up here. Although I travel, 30 minutes any direction, and I can be in a liberal poop hole. So, we keep to ourselves. The magazine keeps us tremendously busy. So pretty much all of our interactions are online with people that we are carrying, that are our target audience, people that are going to enjoy what we're doing. So as far as any kind of physical pushback or anything like that, not so much. However, I'm considering, because a way to build your audience is through video content, and we need to do more of that. We need to be online more. I have considered taking magazines and getting reactions from like Southern California college students, and seeing how that goes. I mean, I don't really want to put myself in harm's way, but I also have a really cute dog that I think I would walk around campus, and so that may be a good buffer. Plus, she'd protect me if anybody physically attacked me. So I don't know. It may be something that we do. So, but with family, I have a pretty screaming liberal family, so we just don't talk about it. Yeah. They know what I do, and they always know. They've always known I'm the black sheep, and so I think they reluctantly accept what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, what about just being on social media? Is your presence like prolific on social media? Because like just 2 weeks ago, somebody on Twitter said that they were gonna sodomize me, and it was horrible. I mean, it was a rape threat, and I reported it, and of course, X was like, "Oh, this isn't harmful or whatever." I mean, it's ridiculous, but then you can't say tranny or whatever. I mean, I don't even know if you can say vaccine. I say all sorts of stuff. I'm too small potatoes on Twitter for them to notice what I'm saying, but apparently somebody wanted to sodomize me. So, but like just stuff like that, it's insane.
That's pretty terrible. No, that is something that it kind of sticks in our craw a little bit. We cannot get any kind of real foothold on social media, and we are constantly trying to figure it out. What do we need to do to get more interaction on social media? Because we're putting out free full comics and all that kind of stuff. And it just seems like we cannot really get interaction on social media. So yeah, so no, we're not prolific. However, I have done Facebook advertising before, and I don't know how it happened, but basically my comments on the ad were flooded with really, really irritated, hateful, because because the ad basically said, tired of woke? Laugh at it. And that got people screaming at the ad. And
Wow.
yeah, and so that was kind of fun because that's actually content for us,
Yeah.
because that's some of our readers' favorite things to read is the hate thrown at Clip City. And also one of the reasons, like, we want to get bigger online so people throw more hate and we get more content.
Yes.
But we're mostly just ignored.
Yeah. Social media is a weird thing. Something I say or write or share, whatever, that I think is so good, 5 likes, 0 retweets, and then something random that isn't even like an original idea. Oh, it's all over the place. I mean, I've never really had anything going viral, but it's odd. I don't get it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because that has worked. We work really hard on the content to make it smart, clever, and funny.
Yeah.
But the stuff that we have posted on social media that is the dumbest, we started doing these dumb jokes. And it was literally like, knock, knock, who's there? Joe Biden, where am I? And people were like, oh, gosh, Flip City, you're so funny. So it's like, okay, our dumbest stuff needs to be published on social media. We're going to do more of that.
Yes. Yeah. Know your audience, right? That's always a good rule. Well, let's talk about satire. So the definition, one of the definitions I found, a literary work in which human foolishness or vice is attacked through irony, derision, and or wit. And then in some of the stuff you sent me, satire is a tried and true method of filing down the fangs of the would-be tyrants who seek to turn us into Borg-like sycophants. That's just good writing right there. So tell us why satire is so important and how it's kind of a lost art.
Right. Satire, I wouldn't say it's so much a lost art. I think it's really translated more into video content. So like JP Sears, he does great satire. Ryan Long, it seems like satire, or at least the more viral satire, is being made in form of skits and video content. So as far as the art, it's still there. Now, with us, of course, we are printing it and we're doing it comic satire. But as far as how important it is a way to be able to tell the truth without, you never know these days, but I think with more minimal chance of being censored, because it is being filtered through comedy, so that's why I believe it's important. It's basically being able to tell the emperor he has no clothes directly to his face. Well, I mean, that's kind of like when you think of the history of court jesters, they were the only ones that could make fun of the king to his face and have him laugh. So it's, kind of in that tradition. It's the Western tradition of, being able to slap the king around and nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to get your head chopped off. Hopefully.
Right. Yeah, hopefully. We'll just wait and see. But that's what you're pushing against. Right. So, and another thing about it too is, mockery. Mockery, I think, is a fierce and maybe not a lost art, but I do think it's underused, like an underused rhetorical tool among the, let's just call us the non-woke, all of us over here who are not woke, whatever label you want to give us. And it's an effective weapon in the culture wars, but you often have conservatives or non-leftists, whatever you want to call them, oh, they have to give all these disclaimers before they say something bold, which completely negates the bold thing they're saying.
That is
or
true.
They're just so freaking nice that it's just like they're a doormat, and they see it as, oh, you're just so mean. Y'all interviewed Jay Dyer, and that's one thing he's often told. He's just so mean. And he's like, well, are you gonna like attack my content or critique that? No, you're just mean. I mean, it's just a way to shut it down. So, I've used mockery. I use it a lot on social media because I just call them the haters, and they're always elitist. And that's just a really fun way to take the wind out of their sails when you don't, whatever they're saying is just so ridiculous anyway, but they think they're so self-important. So that's really fun. But I've tried it in a couple of my essays, and I'm not that great at it, but it is fun to try. So what do you think about mockery and satire? Do you think they're the same thing?
Yes, I do agree. I mean, satire is a way to mock, and to ridicule. I think a thought I've developed over the years while doing this is something I see conservatives do a lot when they're mocked is get mad, and actually that is something when you're mocked, it seems to really cut deeply, like more than just saying you're wrong or you're a jerk or you're got an ugly face. Being having bad ideas mocked and ridiculed, it cuts really deep. And it also, like you said, it takes wind out of sails. We don't want to fight with anybody. We just rather laugh at their ideas. So not only are we cutting them, as deep as we possibly can, we're also not taking them seriously. And that's really painful if bad ideas are not taken seriously. Yeah. And I believe if you're taking these terrible ideas seriously and like arguing about it and saying it's giving valid reasons why A, B, and C is wrong, it to me it feels like it gives the idea more power. But if you're just cutting it, you're just cutting it out by the roots. You're pulling it out by the roots using mockery, ridicule, comedy, all that kind of stuff. That's how I feel about using those tools. It's searing. It's just, I feel like I've become more aggressive over the years. Yeah. But I'm like, and it's like, okay, let's flip this, how much aggression I feel into something that's going to entertain somebody. Right. So yeah. It's also self-fulfilling for us, because, yes. We want watching everything that is going on. It's terrifying, and angering and makes our blood boil. And it's a fun practice that feels somewhat spiritual to say, okay, what can we do with this information to turn it into something funny, help ourselves laugh, and then help our audience laugh as well. And we have all this information. Now we've released it. Yeah. Yeah, and like a comedy, political satire, I think, is meant to provoke and prod, and make uncomfortable or angry the people who should be, while also on the flip side, I think in your intro that the bio I read, you said like a release valve. And I was reading up on Mad Magazine because I was familiar with Mad Magazine. I don't think I ever like read it per se, but I was born in 1971. It was around. I know who Alfred E. Newman is or whatever, but the comparison to Mad Magazine is what y'all get a lot. And what Mad Magazine was supposed to be was an outlet for people already disaffected from society. At least that was what one of the critics or fans of it said. What is y'all's take on your comparison to Mad Magazine? And also, is it just for disaffected, or is it also to plant seeds for people that know something's wrong and might think they're still like part of the mainstream? But are you like, is it kind of like ringing a warning bell too? Yes. I'll give you an example. So my dad, he doesn't trust the government, but then he does. He's kind of a normie, I don't. Yeah. Yes. And he subscribes to the magazine to support us, and he, when we go and visit, because he lives in Utah and we'll go visit a couple times a year over there. He'll grab the magazines, grab my husband, and they sit down for an hour or two, and my husband explains jokes to him. Because it does go a little bit down the rabbit hole, but then also we have things that are just kind of humorous to, I think, a blanket majority. Like in one of our magazines, we did a bunch of Joe Biden jokes, stupid jokes. So basically, everybody would get that, you know. So we try to mix it up to where, you're gonna kind of have to be in our mindset of things to get the full effect of one of our pieces. Though there's stuff peppered in it to where somebody that's not as far down the rabbit hole or anything like that, that can still enjoy it. Yeah. So the way I think about it is we're here for when people are ready for it.
Yeah, it's educational. I mean, I think about just some of the stuff I listened to on my journey, and you'd be listening to, like, I used to like, and I still like the Tom Woods podcast. And this is just an example I'm throwing out. And he'd be talking, I'd be like, yeah, I know what that is. And I understand that. And then he'd mention something or someone I hadn't heard of. Well, I would go research it. What is this thing he's talking about? Who is this person they keep referring to as this really smart person who knows a lot about the subject? Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, it really is important what y'all are doing, even though it's making people laugh.
Yeah. Basically, it's kind of the way I feel about it is, we're here for when people start getting horrified enough because they're finally open to the information that has been presented and censored offline for, since at least 2020, if not longer. And they're finding that information, they're stressed because it's very scary. And then we're here for them to take that information and go, oh, there's other people that feel this way. And then it's gone as far as like people publishing a magazine, making fun of it all, and helping us to laugh at it,
Yeah. You say that Flip City gushes forth with enough irreverent comic satire to make Mad Magazine its bitch if it were willing to come out and fight. So, some of the satire that exists, Saturday Night Live and whatever the late night shows are, I don't even know their names anymore. They're very woke. And then you mentioned like JP Sears and some other people. I know John Christy does some good stuff. Babylon Bee. But it's not a lot on the right. First of all, I saw something somewhere that Babylon Bee said that y'all were too edgy and vulgar for our audience. Is that a real quote?
That is a real quote.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it hurt our feelings when we got that quote at first, but over the years we realized it's gold. Yeah. We would love to be friends with Babylon Bee, but they don't want to be our friends. Yeah.
Aww.
I really think it does have to do with clout. And if we start getting enough clout, I'm sure Babylon Bee will be friends with us. But for now, we like to tease them because they said a mean thing to us when we were little.
Yeah, that's right.
And I said, wow, I thought we could be allies. This sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant to use that as a marketing tool. I have real respect for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It goes along with just kind of all our whole mission, our whole own mission. It's like, okay, is it hurting us? How do we make this not hurt? And really just emotionally with that Rebecca, it really did hurt my feelings. You don't even know. But because I was like, Babylon Bee's talking to me, blah, blah, blah. And then they see our content and get back to me with that. And I was like, oh, I thought you could be our ally, Seth.
Yeah. Yeah. I would do rock and roll journalism back in the day, whatever. And, you like these bands and you hear their songs and they're speaking to you. And then you'd meet the real band members and they would be jerks. And you'd just be like, man, it was always such a letdown. Like, they're just not nice people, even though they're writing these songs that speak to me. So I guess you had that with your Babylon Bee moment.
Yes, we absolutely did. And we've done little things like with our small online audience that we started this meme contest thing where we put out some of our content and let people meme it. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to just do a template of like Flip City be like this, Babylon be like that, and put it out to our memers. And it was fun to see that because they were like making Flip City all punk rock and really cool and edgy, and Babylon be all dorky and all that. It was just a fun little, thought experiment with our memers that,
I like it.
Yeah. It's like, I like to tease Babylon Bee because
That's good.
Sorry, we're better than Babylon Bee. We are.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. And they are pushing back like y'all are. And I'm glad that there are people, again, non-leftists pushing back. But you have said that there are very few patriots pushing back on toxic mainstream narratives in the physical realm. Y'all are doing it in print. We know the work we are doing, while ridiculous on its face, is important. And we've talked about some of those important things, but talk about how Flip City gives one hope that besides losing their minds, the loony left has also lost their grip on culture. So you say, why else would Flip City become so loved? Talk about that, the hope that it gives people. And let me just say real quick, like, again, I'm small potatoes, but I'll just be like, what I do is too complicated and time consuming and whatever, and I don't have the time. And then I'll just get a random email from just Joe Schmo saying, you're speaking for me, keep up the great work. Whether or not they throw me a few shekels or not, it doesn't matter. It's just like, it's like you're speaking for the voiceless, that's kind of melodramatic, but it's true.
It is true. And I am so glad that you get those emails, because that has happened to me multiple times, because what we're doing is actually really lonely. I mean, my husband and I do it together, and we do have contributors and things, but because we're not huge online and don't get too much feedback online, it does get lonely, and we do get demoralized because it is a very hard thing that we're doing. I wouldn't change. What I would change is our notoriety, but I wouldn't change what we're actually doing. But it's a grind, and I swear, anytime I'm in that mind and emotion space of being, why are we doing this? This might be too much for us to handle. I will get that email from a longtime reader or a new subscriber or somebody that got our free magazine online saying, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing in the world. I can't believe this exists, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you, God, for sending me an angel to tell me this and give me the encouragement. And you opened this question with something else though, but I just wanted to note that yes, I have those same experiences where yes, please give us feedback on what we're doing.
And you made a great point too, that it's very lonely and you get demoralized, and even though you and your husband keep to yourself, you're still part of a culture, you're still part of a society, a community, whether you know the people really well or not. And it is nice. And that's another thing that the social media aspect, whether it's email or, a Twitter message or whatever, those people aren't going to be knocking on your door, so that's another good way to communicate with content producers like Flip City, and just say, keep up the good work. Buy our magazine, give Dissident Mama money. That's all good too. But, encouragement, because it's like you're swimming upstream,
Yes, absolutely. And now I remember at the beginning of your question, you had brought up that besides losing their mind, the loony left is losing their grip on culture. That was written in there because that is really part of our mission, is to reclaim culture. The left controls entertainment and media and art and things like that. The people that contribute their art to our magazine, if a good majority of publishers and art houses and just anything to do with art found out they were published in Flip City and knew what Flip City was, they'd be canceled. They would never work again. And so we have probably about 50-50 of our artists. Some will contribute under a pseudonym or a ghost. I don't even know if you'd call it ghost writing, because they're not writing, they're illustrating, but a fake name. And then the other half are doing it under their real names. And I think it depends on what's going on in their personal life. One of our writers, in fact, changed from his real name to a fake name because he found out that the person that runs his company is an insane lefty. So he's like, I don't think he'd ever come across this, but just in case, I cannot lose my job, you know. So basically, we're trying to reclaim culture by making a really hot looking magazine. Because that's also, I'm sorry, conservatives have a really hard time with the aesthetics. There's a lot of really bad graphic design and art. I've talked to other graphic design friend of mine that creates also dissident games, and he says that is the right's biggest problem, is being able to hip it up in a really cool, attractive way. And you guys are doing it and I'm doing it, but you don't see a lot of it. So that's something that we'd like to see more of, is more conservative, really hot, modern looking, cool stuff. So that's kind of what we mean by we're, you know.
All right. You went out for a second and I think you were saying, I was so concerned. I was trying to pause it. We'll just keep going. You were just saying that you're trying to, let's see if I can paraphrase it, be hip and cool, because conservatives don't do that visually very well. But one of my questions was going to be, the left can't meme and the right can. So it's like you're bringing all those things together. You're putting the pieces together that work, because, I just think left-wing memes are just horrible. So, you're putting it all together.
Yes, I think left thinks memeing is lecturing, like you need a lecture. It's like, no, that's not memeing.
And it's like a dissertation. They can do good bumper stickers. I mean, good as in like, oh, I don't agree with that, but that's sort of kind of clever. But but they're memes. I'm like, it's basically like a bumper sticker. I don't get why y'all can't do it, but whatever.
Right.
But I'm glad go ahead.
Yeah, I always laugh at the coexist bumper sticker, because they hate us so much and they want us dead.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, coexist with everybody but you.
Exactly. And then people have taken the coexist bumper sticker and used all these awesome like right-wing symbols to, like, I like that. Like, just throwing it back in their face.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that. I'm gonna have to search that.
Yeah, and one of them may be all guns. I've seen quite a few different ones. There's like a Christian version of it, a gun version. I don't know. I'll have to look, but I've seen them. I'll probably have them saved on my laptop somewhere. But y'all have savage satire and provocative art, and it can be irreverent. We've already talked about how mocking and all is good, but you also say that you do it with a neo-Shakespearean wit. And I've got to say, you're even just the marketing to me, reaching out to me and reminding me, hey, we're sending you free magazines. Like, your writing is awesome. Do you have a writing degree? Or, I mean, it's very punchy and I like your style.
Well, thank you for that. A lot of what you are reading today is copy that was actually written by my business consultant that I met through Salty Cracker. He is a fantastic writer. So as far as advertising copy goes, what happens in that is I will write and then I send it to him and he sends it back 20 times better. Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are amazing. No wonder I love you so much. Because you give me things. No. Yeah. You give me your gifts. But as far as magazine writing goes, that is pretty much about 85% of it is written by my husband, Scott. But advertising copy is my friend that helps me out with that. And that's the thing. Scott, because he writes most of the magazine and he read that copy with the neo-Shakespearean wit, he's like, can we take that out? He's like, that's too much.
I loved it.
I'm like, hey, that's what Max thinks about it. So.
And I like too that, it's taking neo and everybody's like neo-Confederate, neo-Nazi, neo whatever. And you're just saying, okay, we're going to embrace this whole neo thing that everybody loves so much. But neo-Shakespeare, I just think it's brilliant.
Cool. I'm glad you like it.
It says, Flip City holds no punches when it comes to pummeling the establishment. They're on a mission to restore American culture one laugh at a time. So, how do you think you're doing? I mean, as far like your sales have been pretty good or whatever, but do you think there is y'all are helping culture to become more normalized and kinder? Do you feel like that's happening?
Okay, as far as making culture kinder, I wouldn't say that's part of our mission, because we're mean. We're like Jay Dyer. We're like super mean.
Yeah.
But not really. I mean, as far as people go, we love everybody. We really do. We even love the crazy people, because we know they have, they've been through the ringer themselves.
Yeah.
However, we're not going to hold our tongues,
Right.
when mocking and ridiculing them, because that's what they need right now. I mean, that's you can't legislate somebody's heart, right? You can't say, hey, you can't say this, you can't say that, blah blah blah. It is society's job to basically mock and ridicule bad ideas.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is really where our focus is. As far as reclaiming culture, that is a huge task, but
Yeah.
we're doing our part to do just that. So yeah, I mean, that's part of our mission, is to reclaim culture from the people that want to silence everybody.
I think it's also putting yourself out there and not just complaining behind the scenes, but putting yourself out there, I mean, shows courage. And you had said something earlier that's very similar to kind of when people ask me about an issue, and I'm not an expert on all issues, but I'll be like, do you want the Cliff Notes version or you want to know the details I know? And they'll be like, Cliff Notes. I'll be like, they hate you and what you did. Like,
Yes.
that's just my go-to line.
Yes, that is a good one.
Yes, Flip City doesn't hate people, want people dead. You just want people to like stop being so mean to us and stop wanting us dead. So I think it's courageous because
You know what? Hold on.
Go ahead.
Real quick. We don't want to stop anybody being mean to us. Be mean to us. Yeah. That is your absolute right. What we want is you don't wish us dead. That'd be cool. I mean, you can even wish us dead. I don't care. Stop telling us we can't say things.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Stop censoring us. That's pretty much it.
Yes. Right. Stop controlling us, censoring us. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, if you want me dead, I'd rather you be saying it out loud. I want to know if you want me dead.
That's true too. Like the crazier clown world gets, on one hand, it's insane, and trying to raise children in it. Like I have 3 teenage boys. It's wild.
Oh, boys being boys growing up in this society. Oh.
Yeah. But
I bet you tell them that they're okay being boys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're very much, they swim upstream too. So sometimes I worry, like, man, they're so dissident. I'm just like, can they even function at all anywhere?
You're raising good husbands for hopefully good wives.
Yes. Amen to that. But on the flip side of Clown World and how insane it is the clarity. So you made a good point that, we don't want to control people. But hating people, wanting people dead, okay, but like physically coming and like trying to shut our mouths, right. Stop us from attending church, owning guns, homeschooling, that's when it's a bridge too far. Right. But it is a clarity moment. And back to y'all being courageous, it's just a good example for people, that you don't have to go along with it. You can make fun of it. You can think it's stupid. You can, push back against it, and it's okay. And you don't have to give any disclaimers.
Yes. And that is, and we really just skipped over that when you were saying how you see conservatives giving tons of disclaimers. Stop doing that. Please stop doing that, because it just undermines yourself.
Yeah.
It undermines your comedy. It undermines your point. It's like, and that's the thing too. I'm sure we can get ourselves and have gotten ourselves into plenty of trouble because we will not disclaim ourselves. It's like, take us for what we are. Love it, hate it, like part of it, hate part of it. but stay subscribed,
Right.
because it's actually about the mission and less about whether we are offending somebody who is on our side, because we do that too.
Yeah.
We will put out things that could offend the right wing, which, by the way, right wing people get as offended as left wing people. I'm sorry, it just is the case. So we really are made for, I think, the most mellow, coolest side of centrist to right wing.
Yeah.
It's like, if you got a stick up your butt, you're not going to like us.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Just take the L if we're making fun of you, and
Yeah.
laugh. It's like, and be like, we are kind of like that.
Exactly. Equal opportunity in comedy. I mean, I used to like, Family Guy back in the day, because they would make fun of everybody. Very, irreverent toward, Christianity, and, sometimes family values, obviously, just sometimes over the top. But my rule was always like, if they're making fun of everybody, it's okay.
Right. Well,
But
South
comedy
Park does it.
Yeah.
South Park does it. They're brilliant at it.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing what they can get away with and still have a show on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're great.
And I haven't watched South Park in a long time, and there's some of them I'm just like, wow, I really did not like that episode. But then I love the next episode,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they're naughty.
And another thing about the right is, like, the left has very monolithic thinking, and it changes from day to day, but you have to change along with how it progresses to oblivion or whatever. But there's a lot of it's a big tent on the right, you know what I mean? Like, I'm an Orthodox Christian, I'm a Southerner, I know monarchists, I know Jeffersonians, I know homeschoolers, I know people who still have their kids in public, you know what I mean? Like, I know people who are still like hardcore Republicans, other people who don't vote, it's just like, it's a big tent over here, and it's okay if we can all laugh at ourselves, because we are pretty funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the thing too. I believe we are living in a very humorless age, and that's kind of part of what we're trying to do too. It's like, hey, listen, we might have poked fun at Trump in this. Oh my gosh, we did that once, and we had a swath of cancellations. And it's like, we don't want to self-censor, and it wasn't even a big joke at Trump or anything like that, but we knew, nobody told us why they were canceling, but it just happened in a big chunk, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure it was this thing.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing too. It's not like there's many paradigms that we function within, and sometimes we write from the viewpoint of crazy liberals, and that confuses some of our audience sometimes. So they think what we're writing is how we feel, and it's like, no, we just have to take the mindset of this sometimes for the laughs. And I've saved multiple cancellations because I explain jokes.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the 2 satirical things I wrote, I'll tell you what they were. One was a fan fiction. I wrote it back in 2020, and it was actually called Coronavirus Fan Fiction 2023. I was looking at it today. I was like, oh, I was predicting today. That's interesting. But it was about how COVID would bring about secession, but it was like we were living in the secession. It's pretty funny. So that didn't get much traffic. But then I wrote one. Instead of fan fiction, it was a satirical essay about the National Defense Appropriations Act, and I was calling them anti-Semitic, right? Well, I'm not the person that likes I think that's a stupid word. What does anti-Semitic mean? I've written on that before, but it was calling them anti-Semitic because they're raising the Moses Ezekiel monument in Arlington National Cemetery. Well, Moses Ezekiel is a Confederate veteran. All right, we need to hate him, but he was Jewish. So I do this whole thing using the left's language, going after it. And some people are like, Dissident Mama, what's wrong? What happened to you? I'm like, it's satire. It's satire.
Did you
Of
put a
course.
disclaimer? You're like, my satirical article about this. Don't worry, everybody. It's all just a bunch of jokes.
I think I either added it into the beginning at the end because, some people were like, this is brilliant, and other people were like, what's wrong? Oh, she's off the reservation now. But it's like, it's so strange. It's so not used anymore. And yeah, that's funny. You have to explain your jokes to people.
Yeah, I mean, not all the time. Basically, I feel like we're just building a really strong and very, very loyal audience to what we're doing. And now I guess I could see why people would be confused because you don't really do satire.
Yeah.
But when people get confused with us,
By
like,
you.
you remember that we're a satire magazine? Like, is this the first time you ever opened one? I don't know what's happening here. But that is the other thing too, because I made friends recently with a website called Get Woke Up, and I was looking through it, and they do mostly straight news. But then I read an article, and I'm like, this is it. It even confused me for a second because it was a satirical article written from the viewpoint of their lefty journalist, which is a made up character and all that. But it took me a minute. I'm like, this isn't the same tone. I'm like, oh, they're doing satire.
And doesn't it speak to the fact that, like, I used to be a leftist, you were maybe liberal or whatever, but that people can speak I call it leftese, can speak it so well when we're not involved in it, even if we don't have a past. But when the left tries to pretend to be us and talk the way we speak, it's like robotic and strange and not at all human-like. It's very weird.
Yes, like, hello, fellow gun owner. Yes. Do you want to join my militia?
Exactly. Yes, we have those conversations all the time, Oh my gosh. So it's interesting. It's like we know them, but we're like strange zoo animals to them,
Yeah. Well, I think maybe that goes to show that we actually watch exactly the people that they are and know who they are and how they speak. And because they're always believing all the lies about the right, they think we're just a very distinct and believe all the same thing. But what you said earlier, the right is a very, very big tent, and I think a lot of the people that we're attracting probably are the most politically homeless type of people. And believe it or not, we appeal a lot to like voluntarists and anarchists, because they're, they don't care either way. They don't support either side,
Yeah.
It's like the people that have rejected the whole left-right paradigm.
Exactly. Yeah. Politically homeless. Absolutely. I had a point here. All right. I'll remember it eventually. Usually I make notes, but I was just like, oh, you'll remember this, Rebecca.
Well, you're doing really good. You're asking really great questions and you're very conversational, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, I know what it was. Thank you for we worked that out well. We're a good team. That you research, we read things. We, again, being non-wokesters, we look at the news, even news sometimes that we don't like. We read the New York Times sometimes to know what they're talking about. But this is such a pattern on the left. They'll criticize you and they won't read your stuff. They won't look at your videos. And I'm not just talking about me. This is just across the board. Well, did you read the essay? I recently hosted an event, a conference, and people were critiquing us. Were you there? Have you watched the videos that we put out afterward? No, because you're all racist. Blah, is
right.
And it's like, and there's no change in their mind. I mean, they're just going to hate you. They're not, they already have their mind made up about who you are. Like, the stereotyping is so elementary and immature. It's bizarre.
Well, that is the thing. It does seem that the left lacks any kind of intellectual honesty.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and curiosity.
And they lack almost everything. They're just very lacking.
I like it.
Yeah, lacking lackeys. So yeah, I guess that's also why I enjoy being on the side that we're on. Is it is the most interesting, intellectually honest, smartest people. You cannot be a leftist and be smart. You can't.
Yeah.
You know, you may have degrees. You may have degrees and be
Yep.
book smart or history smart or some, probably not even history smart, I wouldn't think.
Right.
But just, you know, the most curious, funnest, funniest people are not wokesters. You cannot, those two things do not collide.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, let's talk. We've been talking a little bit over an hour, just one or two more questions. So you do have the YouTube channel and you have some interviews with James Corbett, Count Dankula, some other things like the Karen Extreme video I thought was just so cute, where it was from a couple of years ago and you're describing a Karen and just you do it so well and it's fun to watch. And then I'd seen you were doing something like 9 months ago, maybe putting out like certain episodes, but that seemed to have stopped. Like, what are y'all doing with the like video presence?
We're chaotic. Yeah, that's the thing. And in fact, I was talking to one of my online friends the other day about, I was complaining. I was complaining about our social media presence and talking about how I really needed to get more on our video stuff. I think probably what I'll be doing is a little bit more reels, like simple reels where I'm like kind of breaking apart our longer, not that we have anything very long form, but our longer form, maybe 5-page comics into individual panels and making reels where I enlist some of my online friends to do voiceover, things like that, and making shorts. It's all about the algorithm, you know, and what do people like to push. And this is what I was talking about with my friend, like on Instagram and YouTube, they like the shorts and the reels. So I'm like, okay, that's something I can probably, without a ton of time investment, make these reels and start experimenting with them and start seeing if we can start getting likes and shares on those kinds of things while, you know, giving out some of our really funny content. Something else that I have been planning to do and just have not committed is I am going to start live streaming once a week. I'm going to do a live stream, a 1-hour live stream. And I believe the theme is going to be mansplain. It's going to be the mansplain show.
I love it already.
And so I'm just going to let people, and it will be, sorry, ladies, I think I am going to make it exclusively men, because that is also part that is so irritating about our culture is the man hate. That angers me a lot because I've always been kind of a tomboy, so I always wanted to hang out with the boys.
Yep.
Yeah, you too. I can tell. I can just tell. The girls that I get along with are tomboys. Because not that I hate women, but I just get along best with tomboys. Anyway, so I'm basically, it's going to be like me with no platform. I'm going to give men a platform to come and talk about things, and we'll talk about whatever. You know, it may be thematic for a certain thing, and or like I'm pretty sure I could probably get Jay Dyer to come on with me.
That would be really cool.
And and we decide ahead of time, okay, what do you feel like talk about, Jay? And then that's what the theme of the show will be, is whatever Jay decides he wants to come on and mansplain to me about. But the way I wanted to open it is actually have my dad come on, and because he's the first man that, you know, ever mansplained to me. So that'll be the first episode is with my dad. And then the second one will be with my husband, because he's the man I married to mansplain to me.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there. Because we've met a lot of really cool people with decent audiences, like on YouTube and stuff like that like what we're doing. And I believe it'd be fun to just have conversations with them. So yeah, so I have plans. It's just, you know, getting in there and making it happen.
Well, I apologize to you when I finally reached out and just said, I get to things eventually, but sometimes it takes me 2 years or however long it was. So I get it, but I think that's a great idea. And maybe you can pan back to where they can be man spreading while they mansplain.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you for that idea.
No, but that's great. And again, as the mom of 3 boys, and I'm married to a man. I'm a huge fan of men, and I think that that would be, again, like a good niche, of tapping into that. Not like the whole MGTOW and men going their own way, like men who are married to women and like women and have daughters and things. I think that would be really, really interesting. Well, that just proves how creative y'all are at Flip City. And I just think it has been a pleasure to talk to you and read your magazine, and even y'all's promos. Like, this is the one from Christmas last
Oh,
year,
yeah.
and it had like to where you could fold this up into, it gave, I have it upside down, fold it up and turn it into a tree topper, and it had all these fun ornaments on it, like a fountain ornament and all sorts of stuff. Hilarious. But even this,
Here's
I
a
think,
put together one.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just like, I keep doing it upside down.
I mean,
That was
it's kind
just
of
like a
falling apart.
reminder, oh, hey, you can buy Flip City for Christmas, this kind of thing. I mean, even that is like so well done. It's crazy creative. And then that, I think you did a video about it. It was your auntie fascist making fun of the normative family. It's a video
Yes.
you could see on their YouTube channel. It's called Auntie Fascist, and it's about this ad, how triggered he, she, whatever, I guess, auntie
Yeah,
is
we
a
don't know
girl.
what it is. We don't know what it is.
But it was so clever.
Yeah, she rants and raves that we interviewed Jay Dyer, an Orthodox Christian.
Super triggered auntie fascist.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun little video to make. Yeah, and that's the thing. Go to our YouTube, check out what we have posted. It is very chaotic. We have interviews with people we've interviewed in the magazine. We have animations. We have some live streams, like bad live streams, because we don't know how to do it so well. All kinds of weird, crazy stuff. So if you want a variety of content and to get to know Flip City a little bit more, our YouTube's a pretty good thing to check out, I think.
Yeah, you'll have a link tree that has all your links. I can include that. And then you had also sent me a link to where people can get a free magazine. So I'll have all that in the show notes. But is there anything else you want to plug or say to the audience before we wrap it up?
I think the closest thing we've got coming up that's pretty cool is our Black Friday sale. We don't do gift subscriptions all year long. We only do them during Christmas. That may change, but for now, you can only get gift subscriptions during Christmas. And we're going to have some really deep discounts during the Black Friday to Cyber Monday. So if you're interested in subscribing but want to save some money, go to our website, flipcitymag.com, and just sign up to our email list, and you'll find out about and be invited to our Black Friday sale. Christmas is coming. We never do very well during Christmas. I guess we're really bad at marketing. I don't know. But help us do good for Christmas this year.
There you go. Well, Christy, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for sticking it out with communicating with me, because I'm really glad this interview happened, because we need to laugh, we need to stick together, and everybody just needs to lighten up a little bit, but also mock those who hate us. It's just a perfect package.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time with you. You're a good interviewer.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And like I said, I do this just because I like meeting interesting people and people who are doing stuff, not just complaining, but doing things. And there's a lot of people out there doing really important work. And I think you and your husband are 2 of them. So thank you so much, dear.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.